Hi everyone, welcome back to another GRE video. Today we're talking about the quantitative section with the comparison questions. It is brought to you by my private tutoring. More on that at the end of the video if you're interested. So quantitative comparison questions are a little bit different from probably anything you've seen before. And the reason is because you are given two quantities, so A and B, and your task is to figure out which one of those quantities is larger. And usually you have to do some sort of math or some sort of logicking and making equations to get to the right answer. So when you have a question like this, sometimes you'll have a preface with some sort of explanation, and then you'll have four answer choices, which are always the same. The answer choices are A, quantity A is greater, B, quantity B is greater, C, the two quantities are equal, and D, the relationship cannot be determined. Let's get into a few examples that'll illustrate a few strategies that you can use to address some of these questions. For the first one, you have a relatively complex set of fractions. So on the left, you have quantity A being 1/16 plus 1/7 plus 1/4, and then quantity B, that's 1/4 plus 1/16 plus 1/6. Now, when you have the actual test, you will be able to have access to a calculator, but it's one of those super simple calculators, and I'll put a picture of it right here. You won't actually be able to input all of these numbers as fractions and add them up. What you would have to do if you really wanted to do that is calculate out what all of these would be in decimals and then add up each of them. So you can imagine it would take quite a while. But what you can do here is look at this really closely. So if you compare these two, you can see that both quantities actually have 1/16 and 1/4. So that can actually help you out a lot because you don't actually have to calculate it, you can just eliminate those from both sides. So what you're left with is comparing 1/7 and 1/6. Now, when you're doing this, you want to be really careful and remember that the larger the number on the bottom, the smaller the overall number is going to be. Meaning 1/6 is larger than 1/7, so the answer here would be B. Hopefully that makes sense, and we'll move on to the next question. The second question that I have for you today is this one. On quantity A, we have a small little word problem. The number of two-digit positive integers for which the units digit is not equal to the tens digit. And then quantity B is 80. So when we're thinking about this, you want to make sure that you are aware of the vocabulary, and I have a few videos on math vocabulary that I'll link to. And essentially, positive integers are going to be any whole number that is greater than 0. So 1, 2, 3, all the way to infinity. And then when you're talking about the units digit, that's going to be the ones digit, so the unit on the very right, and then the tens digit is going to tell you how many tens there are. So in the number 80, for example, the tens digit would be 8 and the units digit would be 0. So working through this, there are actually two probably best strategies that you can use. So we can look at the first one, which is elimination. What we want to do is look at the total number of two-digit positive numbers. So the lowest one is going to be 10 because that's the lowest two-digit positive number, and the highest is going to be 99, which of course is the highest. So if you think that through, that's going to be a total of 90 numbers. And if you think about how many of those numbers have units and tens digits that are equal, that's going to be 11, 22, 33, blah, blah, blah. I have them all written here on the screen. The total is going to be 9. So if we have 90 numbers minus 9, where the units and tens digits are the same, you're going to have a total of 81, where they are not the same. So that's relatively simple if you can think that through. Now, the second method, which is a little bit more logic-y, relies on multiplication and selection. So what happens here is you can think about each digit separately. So we have the first digit, the tens digit. We have 9 total choices for that because the numbers for that can range from 1 to 9. And then you have the second digit, which is the units digit. So you also have 9 choices because you have from 0 to 9, so a total of 10 numbers, but you don't want the number that will repeat. So actually you only have 9 total options for each unit digit. What that means is now we have 9 options for the tens digit and 9 options for the units digit. So we can multiply that 9 times 9, and that gives you a total of 81, just like the previous method. As you can see, there are 2 different ways to do this, but quantity A ends up being 81. Quantity B, of course, is 80, so quantity A would be larger in this case. Those are the 2 examples that I have for you today. Feel free to check out my other videos where I go through other examples, but I want to review a few tips that can help you with all kinds of comparison questions. So the first one I want to say is simplify the comparison. With the first fractions, for example, you can work through each of them. But if you make sure to look at what is actually written in the comparison, sometimes you can subtract things out and eliminate them and make the calculation a lot easier for yourself. So definitely look out for that. The second thing that would help you is thinking about multiple valid approaches to solving a question. So sometimes if something is really difficult for you, or if you read something or see something online where the explanation is unclear, sometimes there are other ways that you can approach that, and you just need to be comfortable with using whichever one works for you. So be aware that there are multiple approaches sometimes to answering the same question. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I do offer private GRE tutoring, and the way that it works is you can schedule a 30-minute free consultation with me. The link for that in the description and the pinned comment down below, and we will work on whatever it is that you are looking for, that you feel like you need help with. You can choose between each of the sections if you want to do all 3 of them, or if you only want to do 1 or 2. We'll come up with a customized study plan and session agendas, and during each session we can talk about sample questions, study resources, do a content review. We can talk about strategies and examples as well. Just depending on what it is that you need. For those, I also offer flexible payment and scheduling options, so feel free to get in contact with me. And I've left a sample review on the right so that you can see what it's like to work with me. Hope you have a really great day, and see you next time. Bye!